speaker, or are our speakers. And I'd like to welcome, Steve was here about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, I don't remember exactly, telling us about their plans that now have been revealed. And not only revealed, but enacted in a lot of ways. So come on up, Steve. Lessard first, I guess, right? And then you'll introduce your buddy.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Tarmy Martin is appreciative. She wants to send her regrets. She called and asked that maybe we talk about the teen center and some of the things we're doing with teens. And of course I was happy to do it. My name is Steve Lessard. I'm the Chief Probation Officer for Juvenile and Adult Probation here in Gila County. Retired from Maricopa County as a Division Director with Adult Probation. Went to the Supreme Court for 2 years and had statewide oversight. And I missed working with kids and even adults, of course, in the community, in the criminal justice system. So I took the chief job up here in Gila. And this town, I live in Pine, my wife and I, and this town is the exact same size as the town I grew up in Massachusetts. And it's wonderful. So I just love it here. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking today, but when I was here last time with Judge Wright, we were talking about some of those things that we're doing with teenagers and things that we're really excited about. We are changing the culture in Gila County. We're changing the culture from a culture of teens at risk to teens at hope. We're bringing kids at hope to Gila County. And Kids at Hope, I think I spoke about it last time I was here. I'm going to let Rob he does a really good job at it, is really finding adults that can believe in kids, can commit to kids, and then can time travel with kids. In other words, when we meet with teens now, we time travel with them. We don't just do a risk assessment, we do a strengths-based assessment with them. And we have them talk about their futures, and then we encourage them to go towards that future. And I always tell a story when I'm with a kid, well, when I have an opportunity to. I don't as much now as chief, but really tell these kids, I was in the hospital a lot when I was a little kid, and I really got bad grades in school. And I barely graduated from high school, and I didn't think I was going to, and I never thought very much of myself. Then I went to college and got straight A's, and I got a master's degree in counseling. So if you believe in yourself and you have people that believe in you, you can do anything. So that's the message and the culture we're bringing to Gila County, and I'm going to let Rob talk to you about that. But I'm also here to announce that effective March 14th, we will have an activity center for teenagers in our probation office now. We did a dedication last week with the Board of Supervisors. The Payson mayor was there. We had the chief of police there. We had, I think, Woody Klein was there. All kinds of dignitaries in the community, and we did a ribbon cutting. I think you might have seen it in the newspaper. I got an email of that article today. It wasn't completely accurate, but it kind of gave you the gist of what we're trying to do. You can only do so much, when you have a bunch of speakers. But anyway, we now have a place where teens can come after school. We have a computer lab for them to do homework. If kids are doing school online, they can do it in the teen center. If kids need tutoring, we're going to have volunteer tutors there. We have a respite room. If we have law enforcement that has a kid that has a fight with a parent and wants the kid detained, but we're not able to detain them, we have a room for them that they can sleep in and cool off. We can bring the parents in the morning and try and figure it out. We have a pool table, ping pong, air hockey. We have a movie room. We have a music room. We have gaming stations for kids to play video games. We have other TVs for them to just watch TV. We have giant beanbags for them to sit on. We have a teen center now in Payson. And when we put out a survey to parents and citizens in the greater Payson area, we asked them, if we built a teen center, now we bought a building for the probation office, okay? So we could make room for the new courthouse that's going to be built. We found this probation office that was big enough to put a teen center in. And we asked members of the community, if we built a teen center, would your kids come to it? And do you think that they would benefit from it? Oh my God, we got an overwhelming response from the community. Most of it was, this has been promised to us for the past 20 years, and we've never gotten it, and we didn't even ask you for it, and you've provided it. So we're doing it, we're running it in the probation department. It's going to be open March 14th. We're going to have a grand opening, open house. We're going to have brisket, potato salad, all kinds of food, and you name it. And we're hoping that the community will come in and take a look at it. And we're hoping that parents will let their kids and high school kids come to this teen center in a pro-social environment where we can introduce the concept of hope to them. We have a counseling room in the teen center where we're already running support groups for teenagers. We're going to do counseling in there. We're going to do group counseling. We're going to do family counseling. I mean, this is a multi-purpose facility that will be open on March 14th, a good pro-social place for kids to come, not get in trouble. We're hoping after football games and basketball games that they will go to the teen center instead of hang out on the streets or in front of restaurants or do whatever they do. We're hoping they'll come to the teen center. We'll buy pizza and drinks. We'll keep them in a pro-social environment, make sure they don't get in trouble. So I wanted to introduce that and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing with Kids at Hope. I'm going to turn this over to the guy who had the idea for the teen center, and his vision has come true. This guy, Rob Keefe, I think he was 340 years with the Mesa Phoenix Police Department. It was actually like 33 or something, I don't remember. And we're hesitant to hire police officers a lot of the time because they want to crack heads and, just put people in jail, and we're in the change business. We want people to change their behaviors because we know once they get out of jail or prison, they're coming right back to the community. So we hired him, found out he had a master's in counseling, found out he worked with the mentally ill, found out he has a passion for kids, and we just really landed. And he's only been with us for a few years, and I turned over the teen center construction, renovation, and the whole project to him. And I hope you get a chance to come by and see it. We'll, anytime you come by, we'll give you a tour of the facility. But I'm going to let him talk about Teen Center and Kids at Hope. He's a project manager for the probation department for program manager for teenagers. So our youth programs, everything to do with youth treatment goes through him. So Rob Keefe.
Thanks for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. I always love the opportunity to come and talk about our teen center because we're very proud of it. And so, as Chief said, I came here by way of a law enforcement career down in the valley for 33 years, and ended up here in Payson area. I actually bought a home down in Tahoe Basin, and I live on the east side of the creek, so I get creeked in every once in a while. But I really love it. My wife and I really enjoy the community down there. But one of the things when I was working juvenile probation up here is that, for one thing, I was impressed with the quality of kids that we have up here. And I had been involved down in criminal justice down in the valley, and I've seen some pretty bad situations and some pretty rough kids down there. But overall, the kids up here were just awesome and really just needed to believe in themselves and maybe needed some encouragement. Maybe need to find a better path than the one that they're on. And I felt like in probation that we really, the way that we were doing business, and I know Chief had expressed similar concerns, is that we really weren't making those connections with kids, really meaningful connections, We spend a little bit of time with them here and there. We do check-ins. We're good at checking the boxes and doing the things that we have to do in criminal justice. But we weren't really making those significant connections. And that's where Kids at Hope comes in. Because, I don't know, is anybody familiar with Kids at Hope, the organization? Anybody here? Okay. Kids at Hope is a wonderful organization. It was started by a man by the name of Rick Miller. And it's actually located and runs right off of the campus of Arizona State University. It started back around 1994 when Rick Miller, who was involved in working with kids, he was running the youth organizations down in the Phoenix area, first in California, then around the Phoenix metropolitan area. He was running all the Boys and Girls Clubs down there and was a director. And the philosophy at that time, around 1994, was basically, everything was kids at risk. And that, all we have to do is look at kids' risks and we can tell you whether they're going to be successful or not. But Rick didn't really see that playing out day after day in the Boys and Girls Clubs. He really saw something a little bit different. And he saw kids who sometimes came from really good homes and really good life situations and had everything going for them, and they were completely disengaged and not involved and not achieving and not being successful. And at the same time, he saw kids who had a tremendous amount of risk, maybe came from really bad situations, really bad home situations, that thrived in the Boys and Girls Clubs and did fantastic in their programs. So he knew something else was at play. And so he's kind of a researcher at heart. He's kind of an unusual character because he not only does the work in the field, but he also has a research mind. And so that led him to encourage ASU to do a 7-year-long literature review of all the available research about engagement and what kids needed to thrive in various programs. And one of the things that was really fascinating about this research was that when they completed it, they found out that it really wasn't risk that had anything to do with whether kids would be successful or not. The factor that really controlled that was whether they had hope. And kids that don't have hope don't engage. They don't thrive in school, they don't make relationships, they don't have friends, they completely disengage. And so really all the research kind of surrounded this concept is that kids needed to have hope. And if you can instill hope in kids, the ability for them to engage and to thrive is just unbelievable. And if you have a chance to look at some of this research around kids at Hope, I would encourage you to do so. But the other thing that they found out was that programs, although there's a lot of good programs out there, the programs themselves don't really make a significant impact on kids if they don't include adults making meaningful relationships with kids, really connecting with them in the programs. So whatever you're doing in any organization, if you have adults connecting with kids in a real meaningful way, then you're going to have success, and you're going to have kids that are going to thrive in your programs. So we took a lot of this research, and the other element that they found through the research was that when kids, and they call it time traveling, mental time traveling, and for many of us, we might think of it more as future planning. But they found that when kids are engaged and encouraged to plan their futures and to think about their futures and to think about what they want to do and what steps they have to take to get there, when we have those kinds of talks with them over and over and over and over again, that helps to encourage hope. And so with all this in mind and all these principles, and really what Kids at Hope is it's not really a program at all. What it is, it's a philosophical framework. It's a way of looking at kids, a way of working with kids, and approaching everything that you do. So we had to take a hard look at the probation department. We had to think, how can we do what we're doing better? And how can we take this philosophical framework that comes from the research directly and apply it to what we do in probation? So born from that was a concept that we developed called strength-based probation. So in strength-based probation, when we do have kids that are on probation and we have to work with them, one of the first things we do is we have them do a character strengths assessment to find out where they're strongest at. What are their strengths? And then we take those strengths and we try and build from there. Take what you're good at and try and build on it. The other things that we do in strength-based probation is that we want to find out what kids are interested in, and we want to connect with them. And I'll give you an example of that. we had a young lady who was very interested in becoming, working in cosmetology. She wanted to do hair when she grew up. And so we had a probation officer. She approached one of the businesses in town and told this lady that she was working with this kid and this is what she wanted to do. And she said, you know what, she goes, I got into some trouble when I was a kid, and I know where this kid's coming from, and I'd be happy to work with her. And so we were able to bring that young lady in and have her work a little bit with this lady and find out what she was going to need to do. And it really has made a significant difference for her. Because now she's thinking in terms of the future. She's thinking, what's the next step for me? What do I have to do to accomplish my goals? Those kinds of things. And we've really seen a significant difference in the kids that we've worked with. I had a young lady that was in for probation. She'd been in several times. And I just told her, she was just so smart and so confident, and she really had leadership qualities. And I told her, I said, you don't belong here. You don't belong sitting in this chair. You don't belong in this probation department. You have leadership qualities. And I told her, has anybody ever told you that? And she just kind of looked at me, kind of a blank stare. And I said, well, you do. I said, you need to find opportunities where you can use your leadership abilities, because you have it. It's natural. I could see it. I could see it in you. And I was sincere in saying this to her. It wasn't just something that I was making up. And she really took it to heart. And then next thing you know, she starts working at school, and she's getting involved, and she's getting involved in the DECA programs at school. And last I heard, she just went to Washington with a DECA contingent, and she's just doing amazing things. And then she came to us and she said, as part of her DECA program, she wanted to start a self-help group for kids that had parents with addiction issues, because that's how she grew up. And so we were able to put her in touch with a licensed counselor who is now coming in once a week and working with this support group with these kids. And we have between 5, 7 kids right now coming in every week to the support group. So things like this. These are the things that are changing lives and making a significant difference. These are the kinds of things that we need to do in probation. And so the Teen Center falls right in line with that. So what the Teen Center does is it allows us to spend significant amounts of time with the kids, not just checking in here and there, but actually seeing them day after day after day come into the Teen Center and be able to build those relationships and play a game of pool or play a video game with them and talk to them about the future and talk to them about their dreams and things that they're interested in. And then finding ways that we can connect with them and maybe help to facilitate that and make some of those dreams come true. So that's the kind of work that we're getting to do, and I feel very fortunate to be able to do that. And we're seeing lives change, and we're seeing significant differences in the kids. And so I would encourage you, all of you, if you get a chance, to come see the Teen Center. And Saturday, March 14th, we're having a barbecue and open house. Starts at 10 a.m., goes all the way to 5 p.m. And you can come down, get a plate of food, and take a walk through the Teen Center, kind of see what we're talking about, what we've been working on. And I greatly encourage you to do that. And we also have a Facebook page and the Teen Center, by the way, is called Route 87 Community Teen Center. That name was picked by the high school kids. We went to the high school and we did a bunch of logo designs for the Teen Center. I think we had 15 logos, and they picked out the one they liked. And then we had them pick the name of the Teen Center, and they picked out, I think we had 30-something names suggested. And they picked out Route 87 pretty overwhelmingly. They were really excited about that name. So it's the Route 87 Community Teen Center. And even though it's being run by the probation department, it's open to the entire community. It's open to any kid. As long as they are a graduate of the 8th grade and they're less than 20 years old, so they're 19, if they're in that age range, the Teen Center is open to them. We don't charge for our services. They can come in. They can sign up, get a membership application, fill it out. We'll give them a membership card. They can check in. We'll have a little barcode reader. They can check in and out and come in and use the facilities, use what we have to offer. And we're hoping to continue to add to this. One of the things is we want to build out a music center where kids can come in and do some music if they're gifted in music or if they just have an inclination for music, they want to come in. We want to do a little recording booth. One of the counties did a recording booth, and it's been super popular, where the kids can come in and they can actually like record a CD or something with music that they like. And the other thing is we want to do some video editing equipment to where kids can come in, maybe shoot some videos, make movies, that kind of artistic expression for those kids that want to come in and work on those kinds of things. The other thing is we're going to build a little small stage, and we're going to have karaoke night, maybe some talent nights and things like that, so the kids can express themselves and do the fun stuff that they want to do, and work on things. And we got one kid who that we're working with. He wants to be a comedian, and so and he got in a little trouble, nothing serious, but he got put on probation for it. So what he's working with the probation officer. And the probation officer, one of his requirements for probation is that he has to do 10 minutes of clean comedy. And he has to go up in front of several people that will pick, and he's got to go up there and he's got to do his comedy routine. And so, we're encouraging that. And it's funny, when you plug into kids and you really connect with something that they're interested in, they just light up. And they're more than willing to do that because they know that you're respecting the fact that this is something that means something to them and that they're interested in. And they're willing to jump on board and do that. So those are some of the kinds of things that we're doing right now. And the Teen Center, our facility is on Cedar, 112 West Cedar, and it's actually right next door to St. Vincent de Paul. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with St. Vincent de Paul in town. And our building is located right next door to them. And we got a pretty good sized building so that we could add the probation department. So we have the adult probation services on one side, and then we opened up the Teen Center on the other side, which is about 2,500 square feet. So it's pretty good size. And we've got kind of a separate entrance and a separate door, and so the Teen Center is really separated from our probation services. And then we have our juvenile staff, which will be running the Teen Center, because one of the things that we wanted to do, and one of the challenges I think that we've run into in Payson in the past when we try to do teen centers, is who's going to pay for it, and who's going to run it, and how are we going to man this thing, and how is this, you run into all kinds of problems. So one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to make it a part of what we do. It's part of our mission in the probation department, and so we're using our existing staff to man the Teen Center. So we're not adding any additional personnel to the Teen Center, and the fact that we were able to kind of fold it in with our probation office allowed us to be able to create this Teen Center very, very cost effectively, and using existing staff. And it's funny as our staff members, from the receptionists to the probation officers to our surveillance people, and everyone is excited about the Teen Center, and they all want to work in the Teen Center. And so we're allowing staff members to do shifts in the Teen Center so they can rotate through. But everybody wants to work in the Teen Center, and they want to do things with the kids because it's fun and it's exciting. And today we actually had a special education class come from the high school and spent about 2 hours at the center. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to make that a regular thing for the special education kids. They're going to come on a weekly basis, and they're going to come special couple hours, and they just had a blast. And they couldn't believe that we had this facility for them. So good things are happening in Payson. Good things are happening with our kids, and we just wanted to take a couple minutes and tell you about it. And is there anybody have any questions about?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for all your hard work
Oh,
and everything. It's
absolutely.
great,
Steve, you want to come on up
The
too?
second thing was, what are the hours?
So currently our hours are going to be, we're going to open up at 3 p.m., which is right as school's letting out, and we're going to be open until 9 o'clock. That's Sunday through Thursday. So from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 o'clock in the evening. And then on Fridays and Saturday nights, we'll be open from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 11 o'clock at night. And that way, we can keep the kids indoors in a safe environment, not out in the woods getting in trouble.
Okay, we have a roving mic
Awesome.
for the audience.
Nice.
So
let your questions be known, who you are, it's either Steve or,
Go ahead.
Ben Ross, and thank you very much. What a great program. And you know what, I'll say something before I ask a question. You know, all of a sudden, the city and the county is now focused on what's good for Payson and not some Chinese university coming in here. And we thank you for that. I think Tim Humphrey, Woody Klein, and Tommy Martin are the greatest board of supervisors that ever hit this county.
They've been a huge
Thank
support.
you very much
Huge
for that.
support.
Now, I've been through AA program 3 times and I don't drink, never have. I've done it so I understand. And I raised 11 kids outside of 5 of my own, so I know what you're going through and you're to be commended about that. Now, I know that God has got to be in every program. Tell me what you're doing to teach something about some basic religion for these young men and women to pray and know that there's something better to our eternity.
Well, it's funny, we've had this conversation. The manager of the probation office in Payson is a pastor. Dan Lowe, I don't know if you know him. This guy worked in youth ministry. I was in the seminary studying to be a priest before I became a probation officer. So when we get together and we have conversations,
Christian base.
and this is, just for here, but, we're not doing anything in, on the slip side and doing something that's wrong, but if you think about it, we're changing the culture to hope. And I told these guys, all we're going to do is faith and love, and then we got all 3 of them, right? Faith, hope, and love. So if you're changing the culture to hope, there's a theological basis to that. If you think about it, we're doing theology. I mean, changing kids' behaviors, believing in them, believing in hope. And when you care for a kid, you love a kid. Those are Christian values. So I'm glad you said that. Yes, we're doing it. We're just not doing it in a proselytizing type of way because we're government employees. And especially in this day and age, if we did that kind of thing, there would be some people wouldn't agree with that. But yeah, so we are going to get faith-based involved in our teen center. We're going to get faith-based involved with our adults as well, because there's a really good option for us to get them in a pro-social environment. And secretly, when they find God, their problems go away after that. So we're hopeful for that. So the answer is yes, we are doing that. We're just doing it in a roundabout way. Just don't tell anybody.
okay, this is Janelle Sterner, and by the way, Janelle is our vice mayor of Payson. Yay, Janelle! Announce everybody. So, go.
All right, so I missed part of it, but I do understand the concept. I founded the Northern Gila County Community Drug Task Force here. And so that is one of our big hits is, again, I don't want to see a child, I don't want to see anybody from birth or pre-birth, all the way to being 100, sucking down on any poison, any type of drug that's going to alter their mind and take them in a way that the Lord does not want to do those. The thing that I don't know if you mentioned or not, dealing with the schools. I've been trying to get in with the schools, and sorry, being a teacher, being in the public school system, it's very tough. They don't want anything that's an educational unless it's testing. Anything that deals with testing, so maybe I should just throw in a drugs and alcohol test, maybe that might get them. But my thing is, I had talked to the last superintendent that will be leaving at the end, that this is so huge here in Payson, because that was the first thing when I came here, moved permanently up here, was what are you going to do about the drugs issue? So with the teens and with the schools, are you able to get some programs in? I agree. We work on the Northern Gila County Community Drug Task Force. It's also faith-based. We're trying to get the churches involved because, again, it starts with our community. You can only have, and that love, hope, and faith will shine when, one, God is present and when your community gets involved too.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Mayor Morrissey was at our dedication as well. And we gave him a chance to speak, and he is completely enthused about the teen center. We have infiltrated the schools. and I'll tell you how we've done that. Number one, and I'll let Rob talk about this, but I want to talk about, we helped write a grant with Community Bridges to get them into the schools. I mean, kids, they were calling the police on kids that had tobacco in their backpacks. And then they were exposed to the criminal justice system. So we wanted to get a program in the school where we could deal with their maladaptive behavior and then do some counseling in the school and not expose them to the criminal justice system. So we did a grant with Community Bridges. That's happening right now. The other thing we did is we wrote a grant for Kids at Hope to bring the cultural framework of Kids at Hope into the schools. So we have actually, before the superintendent left, Renzi was his name? Yeah, before he left, we actually had two 2-hour sessions with all the school principals, the administration, and the superintendent, and the police department, where we started introducing this concept of hope for kids, and we want to infiltrate that into the schools. And that grant is ongoing, and it's going to continue for 3 years, and we are introducing hope, and it's starting, we're going to have what's called a School of Hope in Payson. So when you think of Payson High School, it's going to be a school of hope. And the kids, the philosophical framework in there is really about hope. So we have we have infiltrated the schools with 2 grant programs that are making major changes. And the Kids at Hope is the silver bullet. Now, I'm going to let Rob talk a little bit more about what we're doing with the school.
Yeah, so we were very excited when we were able to use some criminal justice funds to be able to bring this program to the school. Because we knew that if we brought it with, and it comes along with ASU doing all the research behind it to follow up and to show the effects of Kids at Hope on the high school. But we were able to use criminal justice funds to be able to accomplish that. And we knew that if we could bring this whole package paid for and bring it to the school, it would be hard for them to turn it down. And so they have endorsed it, and now the changing of the superintendent has kind of slowed things down a little bit, but it's not a problem because we've been assured by our funding from the state that they can hold that funding until we're ready to move forward. But we are bringing Kids at Hope because we need to change the culture in our school. It's not the correct culture. It's not Kids at Hope. It's very punitive. It's very we're not building kids up. I think we're tearing them down, and we're involving them in the criminal justice system too much. Because kids are going to mess up. Kids are going to do stupid things. I mean, I think everyone in this room, as we grew up, we did stupid things. And I think there's no one here that can't say they didn't.
You didn't do anything stupid.
They are going to do things. And how we react to that and how we treat them through that process has a lasting impact on the rest of their lives. And so we need to be very intentional and very mindful about what we're doing with our kids to make sure that we're helping and not hurting them.
Are you guys able to get in a junior high as well? Because I know, I worked in Apache Junction School District in Florence. We have 5th graders that were starting on all kinds of drugs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it needs to get earlier, and I know our DARE program is at 5th grade, because I used to be in the DARE program too for about 6 years. So middle school, again, is the target to educate and then continue all the way through high school as well. But just for anybody, just as a reminder, we do have our task force meeting, the drug task force meeting next Monday at Messengers from 6 to 7. You guys are welcome to come or send a representative to find out what we've got going on. So again, it's a way to help the community, to get them involved, be proactive. To me, that is the most important thing, is again that no child starts ever with any type of substance use. So thank you guys.
And just to touch on that real quick, I just want to say that this particular program will encompass Payson High School, Rim Country Middle School, and Payson Center for Success. They'll all be involved in the program.
Here's Lori.
Hi guys, thank you so much. I'm so impressed with both of you. I have a 13-year-old daughter, so I can relate to this a lot. Also, I wanted to tell you that if you have any kids that might need community service, I'm a board member for New Beginnings, and we also have the thrift store. And if you want to send them my way, I will gladly take them under my wing.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you use 12-step programs like, Alcoholics Anonymous and Alateen and all of that stuff as part of your counseling group? Or are you just a counselor working with kids in a support group?
Yeah, we, all of our intensive drug treatment programs for adults, they're required to get a sponsor, they're required to go to AA and ACA to occupy their time in pro-social activities and recovery. A little bit tougher with teens to get them into those programs. I wouldn't, if a faith-based organization had a program for teens to do that, we would definitely be supportive of it. There's been some case law that has come down that has restricted government employees, law enforcement, that's us, from mandating faith-based programs. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to send them to Salvation Army Alcohol Rehabilitation Center in Phoenix. Huge residential treatment program, 6 months long, very successful. They said, you can't send people because it's faith-based. It's based on the 12 steps and the higher power. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. But, so what we would do is we would talk to clients about these programs and tell them, you can get clean here. I just can't make you go there. But if you do go there, we're going to get you off probation early. So that's what we do. But so yeah, we do AA and ACA by itself, with very little exception, is not successful for someone that's truly dependent on a drug like heroin. However, as an adjunct to a treatment program, highly successful. So if you add Narcotics Anonymous to someone that's in a treatment program, very, very successful. But in and of itself, for most people, they can't get clean in just a support group. So, yeah.
Other questions besides me?
I have one last story. Do you have a question?
Well, I'll think of it. Keep going.
Okay, one last story. So today we had these special needs kids in our teen center. And this gentleman brought them in, and these kids were at different levels of functioning. And there was one kid who was a Native American, very tall, large Native American kid. And the gentleman who was I don't know if he was the teacher or the volunteer, pulled me aside and said, you see that kid over there, that Native American kid? He's been sitting, he's always sits in a corner, he never talks to anyone, he never participates in anything, and he's got a 3rd grade level, and I think he looks like he's 19. He's only went to the 3rd grade. He's been completely disconnected from everything and everybody ever since I've been working with him. And then he said, look at him. And he was at the pool table playing pool with some kids. And he was joining in. And so this guy was almost in tears saying, this is the first time I've ever seen him join in the activity, ever. And he's in the teen center and he's playing pool. Yeah. So my officers were like, yep, we could do this. We could do this. So.
Okay, so if there were happening to be an Alateen group that maybe some church was sponsoring or something like that, does the county provide transportation to bring kids from the center, the teen center, to maybe spend an hour or an hour and a half at an Alateen meeting that was off campus?
Yeah, we have a van that we use when we have to detain kids and bring them to Pinal County Detention. We have a van that can hold 12 kids, and we'd be happy to drive them over there. If they're at the teen center, we'd be happy to do that. What I was speaking of in particular is kids on probation. We probably couldn't say, you're going to this teen anon meeting tonight. Now, we might say, hey, a bunch of teens are going. Would you like to join them? It's up to you. We can do that. But yeah, we would absolutely drive them there. Sure we would.
Coming from a 12-step background myself for a number of years, been there, done that, huh? Saved my life.
Yep.
That's why I'm so crazy now.
Well, that explains it.
Anybody else? That's why we learn to be flexible. Okay.
Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, yeah.